is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
DRC President Joseph Kabila insists the Sunday poll will take place as planned. Egypt throws its support behind the embattled Sudanese government. And Madagascar's president-elect thanks supporters for the vote of confidence. Hello and welcome to CGTN. This is Africa Live and I'm Karen Roberts in Nairobi. Also coming up in the programme. In your business, we look at how the cost of living has skyrocketed in Kenya over the past year. And in sport, 8-year-old South African Nikita Smith breaks boundaries in a male-dominated motorsport. Well, we start in the DRC, where citizens are set to vote in the December the 30th election. CGTN's Chris Ochemringa sat down with President Joseph Kabila for an exclusive interview. President Kabila stated his reassurance that Sunday's elections will take place. Let's now take a look.
The Electoral Commission has stated that elections will take place on the 30th, which is next Sunday, in the next 2 days. And we don't have any reasons to doubt as to whether elections will take place. So elections will definitely take place on the 30th, on Sunday. The sky is the limit. Beyond the horizon will go.
The European Union has been asked to recall its envoys from the Democratic Republic of Congo. The DRC government has given the EU 48 hours for heads of its mission to leave the country. The move is seen as retaliation against EU sanctions on 14 government officials. An asset freeze and travel ban were extended against the officials, which include the ruling party's candidate Emmanuel Ramazani Shadari. The sanctions were put in place following the 2016 protests in which several civilians were killed. Shadari was the country's interior minister at the time. The government has asked the body to remove the sanctions. The country's foreign minister has called the sanctions an obstruction of the electoral process.
The government of the Democratic Republic of Congo urges the European Council to proceed without fail in recalling its head of mission within 48 hours. I have pleaded on many occasions on behalf of the head of state and government of the Republic to the personalities of the European Union, otherwise for the outright lifting of the disputed measures, at least for their suspensions until the general elections in the Democratic Republic of Congo are held.
Pour leur suspension jusqu'à la tenue des élections.
Security forces in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo dispersed demonstrators who were protesting a decision to exclude them from Sunday's presidential election. The demonstrators had burned tires and attacked Ebola treatment centers. Leon Esenyange has more.
Police forces in Beni fired live bullets to disperse the demonstrators that had stormed the electoral body office. The demonstrators were demanding that the electoral body withdraws the decision to postpone elections in their area. The Electoral Commission announced on Wednesday that it had cancelled Sunday's voting in Beni, Butembo in the eastern Yumbi in the west, citing an ongoing Ebola outbreak and militia violence. The elections in those areas will be held in March next year. The decision will, however, affect over 1 million voters. More than 40 million Congolese are expected to go to the polls for Sunday's vote. The presidential race pits three frontrunners, the ruling party's Emmanuel Ramazani Shadari and the opposition's Martin Fayulu, as well as Felix Tshisekedi, in who will succeed Joseph Kabila. The electoral body will announce the presidential results on January the 15th. Leon Sanyange, CGTN, Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo.
Egypt's Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry has voiced support for Sudan's embattled government as Khartoum grapples with demonstrations against price hikes. This was the first remark by a top regional Arab official in support of Bashir's government since protests began on December the 19th. Cairo's Foreign Minister and Intelligence Chief, General Abbas Kamel, arrived in Sudan's capital on Thursday for talks with President Omar al-Bashir and other officials when angry crowds held anti-government rallies that developed into deadly clashes in Khartoum and other cities.
We fully trust Sudan's ability to deal with these issues through the measures it deems appropriate. Egypt always supports the stability of Sudan and supports all efforts to achieve security and to maintain the ability of the Sudanese people. It is always fully ready to provide any support within the framework of the priorities and policies put in place by the Sudanese government.
10 police officers have been killed in an ambush in northwestern Burkina Faso. The Internal Security Ministry says officers were attacked while heading to the village of Lorone, near to the border with Mali, after a school there had been attacked and textbooks torched by armed assailants. It's still not clear who's responsible, but the West African nation has been increasingly hit by deadly attacks over the last 3 years. Most attacks are attributed to the jihadist group Ansarul Islam and JNIM, which emerged near to the Mali border in December 2016 and have sworn allegiance to Al-Qaeda. These groups are believed to be responsible for more than 255 deaths since 2015. To Madagascar now, and André Rajoelina has been declared the winner of the presidential election runoff, according to results announced on Thursday by the country's electoral commission. But after their announcement, rival candidate Marc Ravalomanana's team asked for the cancellation of the poll result in a filing with the High Constitutional Court, which has 9 days to decide whether to confirm the provisional results.
The Electoral Commission said André Rajoelina won 55.66% of the vote compared to 44.34% of Marc Ravalomanana's, with a turnout of just over 48%.
The candidate number 13, Rajoelina Andre Nerina, number of votes obtained 2,588,703, 55.66%.
The two ex-presidents, Ravalomanana and the man who ousted him in a 2009 coup, Rajoelina, had previously said they would accept the results, raising hopes of a peaceful outcome and no repeat of the political chaos seen nearly a decade ago.
I thank all the Malagasy people who gave me their trust, even those who voted for the other candidate. My message is that you have to be serene. The Malagasy people no longer need disorder. People need a leader who has wisdom, who will unite and bring together all the Malagasy people.
Rajoelina attended the Commission's results announcement on Thursday. Ravalomanana did not. The Indian Ocean island nation has a population of around 25 million people and is among Africa's poorest. About 80% of the population lives on less than $2 a day. Beryl Oro, CGTN.
Well, we are going to a short break now. Don't go away, lots more to come, including NGOs rescue over 300 people off the coast of Libya. And find out why US troops will leave Syria but stay even longer in Iraq.
How will your world change today? What happens here? What happens there? Or what you make happen for yourself? If it matters to you, it matters to us too. Your stories are the stories that need to be told. Africa Live. Find your voice.
Over 300 people have been rescued off the coast of Libya by proactive Open Arms. The Spanish NGO was turned away at ports in Malta and Italy before Spain agreed to receive the boat. Several children were rescued in the operation. The Mediterranean Sea is a popular crossing for migrants looking to arrive to Europe. Italy has taken a harder stance towards migration, turning away several NGO boats from its ports. Spain, meanwhile, is accepting more than 1,000 people per week this year alone. The recent US announcement to pull its troops out of Syria is expected to change the strategic landscape of the Middle Eastern country, where fighting will soon enter the 9th year. CGTN's reporter Ala Ibrahim has the latest from Damascus.
As 2018 draws to an end, it seems the year will be seen in decades to come as when the conflict really started to wind down. And though Damascus remains silent on Washington's troop withdrawal announcement, it remains unclear when the drawdown will be completed and who will replace America in the northeast. The United States has been working in northeastern Syria with the mainly Kurdish militias known as the SDF. These Kurdish militias have a long-standing animosity with Turkey. Ankara, in turn, has indicated it was planning a military offensive into northern Syria. But sources close to the Syrian government tell CGTN that the Kurdish militias are negotiating right now with Damascus for a deal to allow the Syrian army to enter their areas, hoping to prevent a Turkish incursion. Many fear that if Turkey moves in northern Syria, it could not only set up a permanent presence there, but also create more troubles for the Kurds. Meanwhile, the situation remains unchanged in northwestern Syria in Idlib province, where the standoff continues as government forces encircles the last rebel stronghold across the country. And here in the Syrian capital Damascus, the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, reopened its embassy here in what is perceived to be the first of many countries to follow and re-establish ties with Damascus, ending an isolation that began back in 2011. Ala Ibrahim, CGTN, Damascus.
During his surprise visit to troops in Iraq, Donald Trump announced that the US would not withdraw from that country. The US has had boots on the ground in the country since 2003. This makes it one of America's longest-running occupations. CGTN's Timothy Ulrich takes a look at the reasons behind the continuing American presence there.
America and our friends have shown the world that we are serious about removing the threats of weapons of mass destruction.
The search for WMDs, the now debunked pretense for the 2003 invasion of Iraq, ended in 2011, coming up empty-handed. But then came the rise of ISIS, and U.S. forces had a new reason to remain on the ground. For more than 15 years, troops have been stationed in the country, purportedly to battle an ever-evolving threat. But many believe there's another reason behind the occupation: war profiteering. The 2014 Congressional Budget Services Report says the cost of Operation Iraqi Freedom from 2003 to 2011 totals just over $1 trillion. And government contractors in this time have been awarded a total of $85 billion. The biggest winners include American engineering and construction company KBR, which secured a whopping $39.5 billion contract. DynCorp, a private military contractor that was awarded a $1.4 billion contract, and Washington Group International, another U.S. construction company that was given a $931 million contract. In 1935, Smedley Butler, a former U.S. Marine Corps Major General who fought in turn-of-the-century wars, including World War I, warned about war profiteering in his short story, War is a Racket. And when looking at how profitable the Iraq War has been for companies like these, the racket becomes an increasingly viable argument. Timothy Ulrich, CGTN.
Indonesians who survived Saturday's tsunami are struggling to come to grips with the disaster. The crater collapse on the Anak Krakatau volcanic island set off a series of eruptions that killed at least 430 people. The country is suffering its worst annual death toll from disasters in more than a decade. Jin Yingqiao has more.
Samina, a 53-year-old housewife, had owned a food stall on the beachfront. She was helping supplement her husband's irregular earnings from his job at a transport company. She is short on money to rebuild, but says even if she had the money, she wouldn't.
Takut ada tsunami, ya, habis begitu.
I'm really afraid if a tsunami happens again, she says. Samina's home in Labuan was engulfed by floodwaters but kept its structure, unlike many other homes in the region which were destroyed by the waves. Elsewhere in the Banten province, Tenjan Lasam Beach was hard hit. Residents say they received no warning until the tsunami struck.
Karena saya takut.
We were frightened, she says. People shouted, "There's a wave, there's a wave."
Saya kesini.
We couldn't sleep at home because we were scared, she says. A holiday camp on the beach is considered by many to be ground zero. It was here that the tsunami came ashore with its greatest force. The pop group 17 was engulfed by a giant wave as they played a concert. More than 100 Indonesian vacationers were killed.
Ya jualan ke pantai.
I want to sell again on the beachfronts like before, she says, but now I'm very afraid. From now on, maybe I can't start selling again, I guess, she says. Jean Chow, CGTN.
Well, let's now go back to our main story in the bulletin. We bring you more on CGTN's Chris Ottenringer's interview with President Joseph Kabila. President Kabila stated his reassurance that Sunday's elections will take place. Well, let's now take a look.
The Electoral Commission has stated that elections will take place on the 30th, which is next Sunday, in the next 2 days. And we don't have any reasons to doubt as to whether elections will take place. So elections will definitely take place on the 30th, on Sunday. The most important point and the issue is that we want to make sure that these elections take place, but in a very peaceful atmosphere, so that all the citizens or all the registered voters can go on that particular day to vote.
Are you planning a comeback in 2023?
Let's talk about that in 2023. 2023 is still a long way away.
How would you like China to help revive the DRC's economy?
China has been a partner in this country for over the last 50 years. There are those who just believe that our relations with China stem back to the last 10 years. No. China has been a partner in this country for over the last 40, 50 years. And we've had quite a number of projects, economic projects, with China, especially in the mining sector and construction or reconstruction of our infrastructures. And we are also now shifting our priorities into technology, new technology. And I believe in the next coming few years, we definitely will have other avenues of cooperation with China, especially the cultural exchange sector with China as a country and the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
What about the issue of corruption, Mr. President? Some people are saying you have condoned it by failing to punish some of your ministers who have been embezzling public funds.
There is a difference between what you call punishment and what you call injustice. I have a special advisor on corruption here, in my office, and his mission is to track corruption at the highest levels possible and below. My attitude towards corruption has been and will always be, it's an issue that has, or a war that has to be fought by all the Congolese people. And not only the president, not only the 2 or 3 officials who are charged with that. So, do you just arrest someone because he's been accused of corruption? That's what you might call injustice. We've not condoned that. But there are a number of cases of corruption that have been dealt with. We probably could have done much more.
So what's next for Mr. Kabila? Where do you go from here?
The sky is the limit. I don't believe that, and I don't think that as human beings, we should limit ourselves to conventional thinking and conventional ways of dealing with situations. So the sky is the limit. Beyond the horizon we'll go.
You're watching breaking news on CGTN.
Welcome to the world today on CGTN.
A recap of our top stories now. The EU envoy in the Democratic Republic of Congo has less than 2 days to leave the country. The DRC government has ordered heads of the mission out of the country. The move is seen as tit-for-tat politics after the EU extended sanctions against senior DRC officials, including presidential candidate Emmanuel Ramazani Shadari. Egypt's Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry has voiced support for Sudan's embattled government as Khartoum grapples with demonstrations against price hikes. This was the first remark by a top regional Arab official in support of Bashir's government since protests began on December the 19th. Andre Rajoelina has thanked his supporters after he was announced the winner of Madagascar's runoff poll. Rajoelina attended the Electoral Commission's results announcement on Thursday, but his rival Ravalo Manana did not. Rajoelina will be officially confirmed winner after the Constitutional Court vets the results in 7 days' time. And those are the top stories that we're covering. We're going to a short break now. We've got all the business news coming up, including we look at how the cost of living has skyrocketed in Kenya over the past year. And China conducts a test flight of its large passenger plane.
Africa is the nexus of enterprise, and global business will tell you why it matters.
From the mega investment projects to multi-billion-dollar mergers and acquisitions.
Africa today collects, just in terms of revenues from taxes alone, $545 billion a year. If you take 10% of that and you devote it to the energy sector, problem solved.
All this on Global Business, weekdays at this time on CGTN.
There's more to this place than just glorious landscapes. There's more to it than just, say, Table Mountain or glorious, endless salt flats. There's more to it than countries that are home to some of the deepest mines in the world. there is so much more to this place, even if it is home to some of the finest diamonds on the planet. It is the sheer diversity of the people who call Southern Africa home, and the relentless drive to make it a better place that make it so special. And we know that because this too is home. No one knows Southern Africa like we do. CGTN, see the difference.
You don't find the stories of North Africa by sitting on the sidelines. You've got to get out, go there, and you'll find them. In the bazaars of Casablanca, among the crowds in Cairo,
who come to visit Cairo, the ancient capital of Egypt.
Along the waters of the Nile, along the sands of the Sahara. No one else will take you where we can in North Africa. No one else will show you what it's all about. CGTN, see the difference.
Accra is my kind of city. That's because when I'm here, I feel like I'm back home in Lagos or Abidjan, which are two of the major cities I grew up in.
See, business in Africa is high risk.
After about a decade covering business news on the continent, I've learned it's all about the high risk, but also the high returns and the high energy. You simply have to adjust in order to keep pace. When I started out as a journalist, my dream was to open people's minds to the different perspectives. From the CEO in the boardroom to the trader out in the street, we all have different stories. From Accra to Addis Ababa, from Cairo to Cape Town. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Here at CGTN, we realize that Africa is on the move, and it's moving fast, but we're moving right along with it. I'm Uche Okoronkwo, and I'm a business anchor and reporter at CGTN.
Well, let's start this business segment in Kenya, where diesel and electricity prices shot up to the highest level this year, piling upward pressure on the cost of basic consumer goods. Transport fares in Nairobi went up following the implementation of the 8% value-added tax on petroleum products. According to collected data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, Kenyans were paying 16.71% more for a litre of diesel in November compared to a year earlier. Households consuming 200 units of electricity paid 4,434 shillings in November, representing a 12.63% increment compared with 12 months before. South Africa's housing market is undergoing an overhaul following the recent economic recession. Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal provinces are slowly replacing the Western Cape on the housing markets. According to Pam Golding, CEO, areas of growth in the market are now not necessarily the well-established high-end suburbs, but rather the more affordable areas where they're not out of reach of less affluent buyers. Despite an ongoing demand for convenient, lock-up-and-go sectional title apartments, freehold homes still remain by far the largest new property type being built. The housing market has felt the effects of the deteriorating economy, with house price inflation slowing from 4.72% in December 2017 to 3.99% in September 2018. Staying in South Africa, a young entrepreneur has found a unique and healthy way of manufacturing yogurt using sweet potatoes. Edward Molatela Kegarose discovered that sweet potato is low in sugar, high in fiber, vitamins and calcium. The young businessman produces this yogurt in his own backyard. CGTN's Yolisa Njumela has the story.
29-year-old Edward Mulatela Kharuse is the founder of Kharuse Kharus.
It's a company that produces sweet potato yogurt. Kgaroso says he found a gap in the market. After doing some research, he realized that there's an opportunity to provide a healthier alternative to conventional drinking yogurts.
I was trying to come up with something new, something that will be unique on the market. In fact, I was trying to change the game in yogurt industry.
Kgaroso found out that sweet potatoes are a low-sugar vegetable, a good blood regulator, and high in fiber, vitamins, and calcium. Sweet potatoes also have a neutral flavor. They can easily blend with other flavors, and therefore, it's easy for him to produce the sweet potato yogurt in different flavors.
I looked at the health benefits of the sweet potatoes, then I found the sweet potatoes to be more healthier than ordinary fruits that they use when they produce the yogurt.
The young entrepreneur purchases the sweet potatoes from local farmers.
We start by buying the sweet potatoes from the small-scale rural farmers. Then we transport those sweet potatoes to our factory, to our mini factory in Polokwane. Then we start by cleaning the sweet potatoes, we wash them, and after washing them, we cook the sweet potatoes. After cooking the sweet potatoes, when they are well cooked, we peel off the skin of the sweet potatoes. After peeling off the skin, we blend the sweet potatoes, adding different types of milk.
Since Kgaroso started his company in 2015, he has managed to employ a small dedicated team that produces a number of units every day.
Kgaroso is one of the young people who have heeded government's call to consider entrepreneurship to help grow the economy and create more jobs.
I was creating my own employment. I was creating my own job for myself and other unemployed youth in Polokwane, especially the unemployed rural youth.
Comfort Palane is one of those employees.
It's so much fun going out there to the customers, because a lot of people will tell you that they don't eat sweet potato at all. But then when you go out there to tell them about this product, and you say this is sweet potato yogurt, everyone seems to be so impressed.
His products are now available in 2 local retail stores in Polokwane, his hometown. Yulisan Jamela for CGTN in Polokwane, Limpopo Province, South Africa.
China has conducted a test flight of its large passenger plane, the C919. The plane is the 3rd in the series and took off from Shanghai this morning. In total, 6 C919s will undertake various tests, including on power, control and stability, and also extreme temperature tolerance. 2 other C919s had test flights last year and early this year. The project has 3 flight test bases. The main one is in Shanghai and the other 2 are in Xi'an and Dongying. Being one of the biggest beneficiaries of internet development, China now is sharing her technological breakthroughs with the world. CGTN's Chen Tong reports.
Printing out the orders, finding the right products on the right shelves, and shipping them overseas. This is online trader Chen Bo's daily routine. 8 years ago, he started selling small items, from dolls and stationery to foreign buyers via cross-border e-commerce platforms. He doesn't need to travel overseas to find customers nowadays, and that has saved him 80% of his costs. He's also getting more orders.
We get 10,000 to 20,000 orders a month. We also tailor wholesale products for customers, and those are worth an average of $50,000 to $60,000 per order.
Two-way sales volumes on cross-border e-commerce websites exceeded 8 trillion yuan in 2017, and 80% of those were Chinese exports. And while China's e-commerce power has resulted in Chinese products going to more foreign countries, it has also pushed foreign retailers to adjust their sales strategies. French cosmetics brand YSL started selling on its official website in 2014. But this year, the competitive market on e-commerce platforms has pushed the cosmetic maker to open a new store on Tmall.
With consumers are shifting to online, not only buying product but also knowing more brands, experience the brand. Of course, the way we are engaging with the consumers are shifting, or I would say become more diversified from only offline to online plus offline.
Many famous foreign brands have all opened online stores to take advantage of China's huge demand. And with all of that, the international logistic firms are booming. U.S. logistic firm FedEx has been serving China for more than 30 years. An expanding e-commerce market has led to the company continuing to add more international flights to handle the huge volume of shipments.
We can see that customer behavior are changing though. Other than the import and export, we can see that the e-commerce is developing well. Those really offer great opportunity to logistic company like FedEx.
The country's internet innovations themselves have also come to play a significant role in marketplaces worldwide. Both WeChat Pay and Alipay have entered dozens of overseas markets, installing their payment systems in local shopping malls, airports, and even convenience stores. The initial idea was to benefit Chinese tourists by making overseas shopping easier. But now, China's mobile payment system has become a model for study in other markets. WeChat told us in an email that in many foreign countries, mobile payment systems are not as popular as in China, and so the company is helping the foreign players upgrade. Alipay is doing something similar, and is aiming for 2 billion users worldwide.
We hope to bring the China experience overseas. We have helped to create local payment systems in 9 countries and regions involved in the Belt and Road Initiative. These payments are helped by Alipay's technology and risk control system.
Over the past decades, China has extensively developed the internet, which was created somewhere else. And now, China is giving its achievements back to the rest of the world. Chen Tong, ICS for CGTN, Shanghai.
On to Venezuela now. 2018 has been a year of deep economic crisis for the South American country. It's experiencing an astonishing rate of hyperinflation, crippling shortages of food and medicine, and as a result, a mass exodus. CGTN's Juan Carlos Lomas takes a look back at what it's been like for Venezuelans this year and the forecast for 2019.
Money, how to get it and what it will buy. 2 big issues for Venezuelans: lining up at cash machines to get bills which lose value by the minute. The IMF predicts hyperinflation in Venezuela will reach a whopping 10 million% next year. The minimum wage has gone up 6 times in 2018 alone, yet that salary, the equivalent of just under $9 a month, won't even buy the few goods available on grocery store shelves.
2 bananas and 7 tomatoes. This is all the food I could buy with my salary for the next month.
The Venezuelan government dropped 5 zeros of its currency and issued new bills over the summer, but cash shortages continue. Electronic payment methods often fail as well, and many people have resorted to bartering.
If people don't have the cash to pay and are unable to do bank transactions, they just pay with food or medicine, which are things we all look for and need.
Venezuela's National Council of Commerce and Services estimates between 40 and 45% of businesses across the country have closed down. And a massive exodus continues. The UN estimates 3 million Venezuelans have fled the country's economic and political chaos since 2015. This is the 4th year in a row of deepening recession for Venezuela. It began as world oil prices plummeted in 2014. With the world's largest proven oil reserves, Venezuela has for years relied on oil revenue for everything, from education to medical care and subsidies for food and gasoline. President Nicolás Maduro blames Venezuela's economic downturn on the sanctions imposed on Venezuela by other countries.
Durante los años 2017-2018,
from 2017 to 2018, a set of measures have been taken to pursue Venezuela's global bank accounts. Measures which have kidnapped millions of dollars from Venezuela, money which was going to be used to purchase medicine and food.
Dozens of protests take place across the country every week over the lack of food and medicine, drinking water, electricity, and gasoline. In January, a new presidential term of 6 years begins for Nicolás Maduro. His economic recovery plan has so far included a 96% devaluation in the exchange rate and an increase of more than 3,000% to the minimum wage. Many hungry Venezuelans fear that continuation of such a plan will only sink their country more deeply into economic crisis. Juan Carlos Lamas, CGTN Caracas.
We are going to a short break now. Don't go away, lots more to come, including conservationists intensify effort to save rhinos. That story and more after the break.
When you look at Africa, what do you really see? Do you see fast-growing, endless deserts and parched earth? Or do you see the biggest opportunity for an agricultural revolution in a generation? Do you see crowded, unplanned cities or vast, untapped markets? Do you see a population at risk, or do you see a billion-strong opportunity to grow the next wave of multi-billion-dollar firms in Africa? When you look at Africa, what do you really see? Join us in Global Business and see Africa through our eyes.
A French company, Sigfox, has developed an ingenious way of tracking animals. With the help of the internet and a small tracking device, they're looking to give conservationists a much-needed boost.
A conservationist is inserting a tracking device into a rhino's horn. The device will then be connected to the internet, where conservationists can keep track of this endangered species.
We now help rangers and conservation experts to observe these animals from a distance, taking less risk and especially to anticipate potential dangers that the animal could take.
Poaching remains a constant threat for rhinos. This small sensor sends 3 signals a day. Sigfox is also working with primatologist Jane Goodall to use the same technology to monitor chimpanzees in Tanzania's Gombe National Park. Local forest monitors will be trained to use the system.
There's no question, but using this technology, they feel empowered, they feel that they're part of what we're doing, and they have become our partners in conservation.
Sigfox and Goodall will work over a 5-year period to develop the program. Astatal, CGTN.
In other conservation news, animals in captivity. Half of the penguins are female, half are male, and they're all between 2 and 4 years old. African penguins are an endangered species according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature.
We invested a lot in the new area for them. We've done a very, very nice area. You can see that behind me. So for us, it is an important event. And above all, you know, we are fulfilling our mission, which is the conservation of endangered species.
We head to North Africa now, where Egyptian waistlines have found their way into the headlines thanks to the president. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has urged citizens to lose weight. A recent study has shown that Egypt has the world's highest rate of obesity, with 35% of adults and 10% of children. Here's Adel El-Mahrouhi with more on what's slowly becoming a weighty matter.
A national health campaign in Egypt for non-communicable disease has unraveled shocking numbers in obesity. The health survey, which has investigated around 20 million Egyptians, has shown that 75% of Egyptians are overweight. More than 35% of adult Egyptians and 10% of children are obese, and that 6% are excessively obese. The staggering statistics have urged the Egyptian president to comment.
The criteria you need to make sure your health is good is not necessarily a checkup. Check how much you weigh, how large is your waistline. We are losing our health. It's not just about financial cost. Money can be managed, but nothing can make up for our health.
Egypt has become the highest country in the world with obesity rates.
Unfortunately, Egyptians are not eating a healthy, balanced diet. There is a shortage in their daily intake of vegetables and fruits. Also, there is an overuse of saturated fats in their cooking.
In a country with nearly half of its population under poverty line, animal protein, fruits and vegetables are quite expensive for most people. Popular affordable dishes here are fava bean sandwiches and koshari. Both are very rich in carbohydrates. It's why the president's call for Egyptians to lose weight has seen an uproar on social media.
We need recommendations to make sports a school subject with grades. All parents are concerned to drive their kids to school so they can get good grades, and that's it. No one is teaching sports. When our sons finish high school with weak bodies and they are subject to get back problems and other diseases, are we guaranteeing their future? Of course not. You need a school program that includes sports.
Since his election, President El-Sisi has been keen to appear more than once to the public, biking, an attempt to encourage Egyptians to practice sports and keep fit.
According to the Health Ministry, 84% of Egypt's mortality rates are because of obesity, diabetes and hypertension. Obesity solutions are quite clear. They either need more expenses to abide to certain food diets or more time to engage heavily in sports. But unfortunately, they are necessities not so many Egyptians can afford to spare. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
Well, 2018 may be over soon, but according to critics, 2019 will be a year of many more pleasant surprises when it comes to Hollywood films. And here's a sneak peek into the long-awaited movies.
Memories. I see flashes.
The most anticipated movie for some is Oscar winner Brie Larson's launch into the Marvel Universe, as the title character is Captain Marvel, which will be released worldwide in March. The movie is the first female-led and female co-directed addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Another highly anticipated superhero offering is the fourth and final Avengers movie, Avengers Endgame, directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, who were also behind the previous installment, Infinite War. The movie is expected to meet audiences beginning late April. And there is more Star Wars to look forward to.
Then we have the next Star Wars main episode, J.J. Abrams going back to direct that. The Last Jedi caused some controversy with fans and with critics, so it'll be really interesting to see if he kind of returns back to basics.
There are also two more Disney films to look forward to next year, including the remake of The Lion King and Toy Story 4, directed by Josh Cooley. Both will release next summer.
Disney owns so many hugely successful franchises. You know, they've got the big things like The Lion King, Toy Story 4 is already getting so much buzz. And that's before you even start talking about Lucasfilm and Star Wars and the Marvel Universe. So much of cinema is kind of owned by them. And, you know, they have kind of dominated cinema over the last few years.
What's more, Martin Scorsese has teamed up with Netflix to make his passion project, The Irishman. The crime drama stars his longtime collaborators Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Bobby Cannavale, Harvey Keitel, and Joe Pesci. The Oscar-winning director called the big-budget film risky for Netflix.
I mean, it's Scorsese, and he's bringing back all his amazing cast from all his films over the years. It's just going to be one of the moments of the year. And that's with Netflix, because Netflix have both the kind of creative seal, they have the budget, And you feel that that's a place he can really innovate and get the financial support he needs to make the film he wants to make.
The Irishman will be available for streaming on Netflix, but will also get a theatrical release in 2019. CGTN.
We're going to a short break now. We've got all the sports news coming up, including 8-year-old South African Nikita Smith breaks boundaries in male-dominated motorsport.
Africa, where champions are made, records are broken, legends are born. We're there for every goal, for every knockout, for every step of the way. Match Point, only on CGTN.
In South Africa, 8-year-old Nikita Smith from Johannesburg may not realize it yet, but her love for motocross is breaking boundaries in a male-dominated sport. Nikita participated